Hi everybody, welcome back. We are focusing now on chapter 7, which is all about target marketing and how we're going to use this very powerful concept and tool in our hospitality, tourism, recreation, event, food service industries, and how we're going to use brand positioning to make sure that we utilize all of those assessments that we've completed to date. We've picked and identified the right target market or markets, and we've positioned ourselves well that we know this will be a success. It will make the remaining marketing plan process such a simpler, more effective process because we've done our homework in advance. We have a strong strategy. We know who we're going after. We know why we're going after them, and we know how to go after them. So the rest is a lot of fun, to be honest. So makes it more fun when we know we have a vision, a focus, a system, and we know when we put some effort into this, we're going to make something good happen for our organizations. So welcome to Target Marketing and Brand Positioning. We're going to start with a video clip of me. Something new and different, huh? Anyway, when I sought the expertise of colleagues in our industry who focus on marketing every day, as you've already seen a few of the real life videos of people telling how they utilize certain techniques in the marketing process incredibly well, but how they've also failed at marketing. So I asked many industry colleagues to tell a high and a low about what they've done really well in marketing and what didn't go so well, and what advice they have for students. So to do that, I had to do my own video first and send that to them so they had an idea of what I was looking for and asking of them. So knowing that, I, interestingly enough to even me, that when I did that video and I very honestly reflected on what I considered a great success and something that I considered a failure that I learned a ton from, and I don't regret that failure, because again, we want a high five failure here because that means we're trying something new and different, but I certainly want to learn from it every time too. So having said that, when I did that video and later reflected on what topic it related to, it was all about target marketing. Both my greatest success story in marketing and what I considered my one of my really big failures were all centered on this topic. So I start this chapter to you with my quick video on my high and low marketing story. Hi everybody, I'm Patty Janes, a faculty member at Grand Valley State University in Hospitality and Tourism Management, and I am here to share two things: my best marketing decision ever and my worst marketing decision ever. And I'm going to start with the worst. My worst decision ever was back when I was working for Marriott, and I was in marketing for many of the Courtyard by Marriott hotels. And at the time, we were in the Detroit market and had done a radio trade promotion with a radio station. So we traded so many room nights to get all this airtime on the radio, which in and of itself was really good. Except we traded that we would also host a Super Bowl party. And so the radio station used that as a promotion, and was giving away, listeners would call in and leave their name, and then they gave away this big Super Bowl event at our hotel. It was all good and great, with the major exception that it was a radio station called WRIF, which was a rock radio station. And our core demographic in our market with Courtyard by Marriott at the time was by far not the rock radio station listener. So all I can remember is hosting the Super Bowl party, and we had all the trade and advertising, which really wasn't ever our core audience, and then hosting this party and just kicking and screaming the whole way through it because all the wonderful folks that we had at the party were clearly not our regular core audience and customers. So that was my worst promotion and marketing effort. My best one, though, however, was just a couple years ago working with Oakland County Parks and Recreation. And I consider this one of the most fun ever because it was an incredibly tough economy a few years ago. And we were looking for ways to find markets and write a marketing plan for one of their water parks. And the best part of this story for me is that we were looking at all kinds of different market segments to target, and we had to be really creative and think outside of the box. So we were looking at the dog market, people who had dogs who might want a water park. And we were looking at all kinds of people who might have time available because there was so much unemployment and so many bad things happening that it was hard to find people who had that money. So we ended up identifying the unemployed market as a market. And for me, it's still one of the more creative ones that we've looked at. And we partnered with unemployment agencies and really looked at where were all unemployed persons at so we could reach them. And then we had a great promotion and an offer for an incredibly inexpensive time at the water park. We knew they had time. We knew they didn't have money. But it was not only kind of cause related, it felt really good. The bottom line was the media loved it, and we got just hundreds of mentions on radio, on news, and phone calls of people just loving what Oakland County was doing for people who were unemployed. But that was a strategic conversation and a plan to partner with the right agencies, and it just was so unique and out of the box, and it worked. So that was my story. So my advice, always know your market. Always, always, always know your market and know the markets that are served by the choices that you make to partner with or the media audience as well. So I hopefully have not made that same kind of bad mistake again. But secondly is think outside the box. We have to have creative things to sell and give to people in the tourism industry. And if we just do it like everybody else, it's not going to work. So have a great day. Thanks. There we go. I'm back. Anyway, it's kind of strange to see yourself on video, I have to admit, looking at myself. But I still think of those stories, and it's really interesting to me that they were centered on a target market decision that made it effective and a target market error in terms of a tactical decision to communicate with an audience that wasn't even one of our multiple target market audiences. So as we move forward in this section, what I believe to be true in our industry is we know that we have market segments we're trying to reach back in the 80s, if you remember back in history. And we also believe in targeting certain groups of people, more so on the for-profit side. The nonprofit side still might feel everybody is our market. They realize their segments, but get a little afraid of targeting a certain group of people. But we're still stuck kind of in the 90s with even that target marketing kind of concept. It is difficult and challenging, and we'll learn in this chapter more about why everybody doesn't completely buy into the target marketing idea. But I will say, strategically, this is a very important area that we, if we do right, will be incredibly effective. If we ignore, it will be one of the major reasons our business may not be as successful as it could be. So moving forward, welcome to Chapter 7 and the beginning of Chapter 8. And we're talking about target marketing and brand positioning, taking that strategy assessment. So target marketing, as we're going to define it this time, it's people served or desired, the people that we want to go after that have similar backgrounds, needs, and interests. And these target markets will always be unique to your organization. This is not a homogeneous target market. I can give you 8 descriptors and that fits every organization in our industry. In this case, we have to always consider the organization we're looking at, and then we always use a system and a process to break that overall big market down to people who have like needs, interests, backgrounds that make sense to split them up. So think of it in terms of one big group of people, meaning everyone, and yet I know for my hotel or my restaurant or my event, my festival, right, my tourism business, my attraction, my theme park, I know not everyone really is who I'm looking at serving. And even if I'm a nonprofit, I'm a Parks and Recreation department, I've had those organizations say to me, well, we serve everyone in this geographic area. And while I agree that their mission is certainly related to that, there's specific objectives each year do not relate to serving everyone. They don't need to serve everyone because there are other community type organizations that focus on the needs of some of the other markets. And just quickly, for an example, a nonprofit organization like a city parks and rec department may not focus on senior citizens because they have a strong Commission on Aging or senior center that takes that role and focuses on that market segment in their community. So why would the Parks and Rec department even target seniors when their needs are being addressed somewhere else? And they don't need to. They can put more energy into areas or markets that are underutilized. So regardless of your profit status, nonprofit or for-profit, we all should be target marketing. We are not really focused on everyone. And if we are, then we're really serving no one. And it might be just this year you focus on certain groups of people, and next year they might be slightly different. So that's part of our story. Think about even organizations you've worked for or interned at, and how do they approach this concept of identifying 4 to 8 targeted markets to invest in their resources, their time, their energy, and their money to make something bigger happen. Going back to my quick video on my best and worst scenario, I should add the Oakland County story also, that we looked at filling Wednesdays for that park. We weren't going to do a promotion and target a market like unemployed persons on a Saturday when we had people who were willing to pay and could pay, and demand was higher on a beautiful Saturday summer day in a water park. So that target market was invited to participate on a Wednesday when we were open. And because we had done our due diligence about really understanding our business patterns and the way our operation really had people coming and going and when and who, we knew we had an opportunity with that Wednesday day in particular, that we didn't have a lot of group business. We didn't naturally attract transient business, so we wanted to target a certain market to go after. So keep in mind, all that business intelligence that we've generated or looked at that was internal or secondary or primary that we've gathered, we're applying it all right here. That information doesn't sit back. Carry it with you, because we need it to be really good at target marketing. So the idea with our strategy is this chapter really starts to wrap up this whole worksheet or strategy section. I mentioned to you earlier that market planning is divided really into 2 distinct sections for me. One is strategy based, and then based on what we've learned and gathered from that, we're going to tactically go after that market and make something, again, different happen and positive happen for our organizations. So having said that, you know we've just spent time gathering all our assessment data. We're going to use that assessment data, and we're going to build on that moving forward to identifying target markets. So again, keep in mind that every marketing plan should have 4 to 8 target markets they're focusing on. And if you recall, the reason we don't have just one is because putting all the eggs in one basket is incredible risk, right? The reason we don't have 20 is because our resources and our time and energy and money could never meet the needs of those 20 really effectively. So most organizations, when they embrace target marketing, will focus on 4 to 8 target markets in any given time. Now this semester, each one of you needs to own 1 target market. And the reason we do that, or I do that and require that of you, because if you can own 1 target market and understand and apply the steps to effective target marketing, I know you can do it for 4 to 8. So please always remember, a typical organization marketing plan is going to have 4 to 8 target markets identified and tactics to reach those markets, whether they're transient individuals or groups of people, school groups, church groups, other kinds of groups that we might attract in our business. Having said that, you will own 1, but you're going to own it thoroughly and effectively, and again, really easy to make that 4 to 8 when you are a practitioner in the field and responsible for the marketing effort. Again, my dream is everyone's responsible for the marketing effort, and they understand and they'd be engaged in this process. So I've never written a marketing plan in isolation. I have always luckily learned early in my career, but only will do it if I have a team of people to facilitate this process. I could sit down and write one, you can too, but if I bounce ideas off people, if we gather experts in their part of the operation and we bring those people together, we will make a better set of decisions. Time and time again, it is such a fun part of the process. And I know being a class, you might be working more in isolation, but I encourage you in every step of the process, bounce ideas not only off of me, bounce ideas off people you know, and just ask questions, because every human being can contribute to this process and help us think about marketing differently. Keep using the worksheet. Know that we're going to apply and use everything you've done so far. We're talking here about identifying target markets. We're going to pick one eventually, but again, if we were an organization writing a plan, we would be picking anywhere from 4 to 8, depending on our industry, our market, our resources. And then what we're going to do is walk through the remaining steps of the process. So all of Chapter 7 and this first part of 8 works with target market identification, really understanding positioning of that market, answering key questions related to the size of the market, internally and externally. Currently, how many do we serve in that market segment? Externally, how many are out there in that market segment? What kind of needs and interests do they have? How accessible are they to me? They might exist, but I can't figure out how to reach them or get to them. And then what's their behavior like? What are they doing when they're not with us? What do they do when they're with us? What do they like? What do they enjoy? What do they read? What do they listen to? I need to understand everything about this market segment if I'm going to apply target marketing. And I venture to say in our business, we don't really know. We don't even know who we currently serve. We don't know, and I might know I had 500,000 visitors to my festival, or I may know that I have 1,000 people a week in my bowling center, or I may know that I have 80% occupancy in my hotel. But what do you know about those people? If we take the 500,000, what percent are families with kids under 5? What percent are families with teens? What percent are single people? What percent are senior citizens? What percent, as we further use target marketing variables, might be interested, might be men in their 20s interested in competitive bowling, who are in it for the challenge and the thrill, right, and the whole idea of competition. You can see that market, I know, in your head right now as I start to describe it. And that's how it should be. We should be so in tune with their needs, wants, and desires, and we figure out that they exist, that we don't serve all of them now, and there's more to be served that would meet the needs of one of our business demands, some of the information we learned about our intelligence, the days we need to fill, a Tuesday at a golf course, not a Sunday, right? That kind of idea. And then utilize all that information to make a better decision. So I love, love, love target marketing, because I think, again, this is a significant contribution you're going to make to the organization you're writing the plan for. But almost second level of importance, right, is what you'll do in the industry. We will learn to be better target marketers. The data is available. It typically means we haven't accessed it, but if it's not, we need to find it. I need to know out of my 500,000 visitors who they are, what they look like, how satisfied they are, because that will be a core function of effective marketing today and in the future. Once we gather all that, we decide that this is the market we want to go after, we're going to write a marketing objective. And then that transitions to the first step of tactically owning that market, going after that market successfully, and making an impact on our organization.